Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Biological parents are much more, usually much more affectionate as well. So they balance out the discipline with the affection. Whereas a bonus parent or a step parent has to kind of grow into that. They have to get to know the person. So if they're starting to discipline too early, that's when you hear, "You're not my mother, you're not my parent," because they're asking a child to do something that their own parent necessarily wouldn't ask. So that's where it comes from. It's like, you don't eat in front of the TV. My own mother doesn't care. Why do I have to listen to you? So that's where the premise is. But I know what you're saying in regards to step parents do come from a different standard than biological parents. I think kids just don't feel they're as invested. And they probably aren't, because investment comes with time.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today.
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist, author, and the founder of the Awareness Integration Theory. Today, I will be talking with Dr. Jann Blackstone. She specializes in child custody, co-parenting, divorce, and step-family mediation. She is the author of multiple books on divorce, remarriage, parenting, co-parenting, including Etiquette for Parents Good, after good behavior after divorce and separation, Etiquette for weddings, and Etiquette for holidays between parents, and especially people who are each other's ex. She also wrote about My Parents Are Divorced Too. So these are all of her books, but today we're going to actually be talking about another book, which I'll share with you. She's also a founder of Bonus Families and the 50C nonprofit organization dedicated to peaceful coexistence between divorced or separated parents and their combined families. Now, we're going to be talking about her new book, The Bonus Family Handbook, which is a definitive guide to co-parenting and creating stronger families. It is so important to listen to this. If you are married and have children and are co-parenting, this will be useful. If you are separated or divorced in your co-parenting, this is useful. If you are a blended family, or you're getting to want to meet other people and bring those people into your life and kind of blend them with your children and have this relationship with your children, you need co-parenting. All of this is is what we talked about. And I think you will enjoy this conversation as much as I have, and I'm positive you'll learn a lot. So be sure to subscribe to my podcast, my YouTube channel, and connect with me. I love, love, love to hear from you. Go to my website, foojanzeine.com, or to any of my social media platforms, which you'll find also on the website, and share with me your needs, your likes, what you like to hear about, the topics you like to hear about, the guests you like me to bring on, and all of it, or anything you want to say. I'd love to hear from you. Now, without further ado, here's Dr. Jann Blackstone.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, three experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now.
Well, Dr. Jann Blackstone, everybody, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. You've written many books, and your specialty obviously is around co-parenting. But your book's name is Bonus Family. So first, I want to know what got you to want to specialize in co-parenting, and then why bonus?
Okay. Well, co-parenting specifically is because when I remarried, co-parenting was, anybody who co-parents knows that it's first and foremost on your mind. You are either arguing with somebody, you're trying to get along with somebody, you're trying to coordinate efforts, and it becomes your life. And so when I started doing that, I realized how encompassing it is. And then when I remarried somebody with a very hands-on ex-wife, hands-on mom. And I was not anticipating that I was going to have to be interact so much with somebody's ex. And when I realized that there's no way that you can co-parent without talking to everybody, it's a coordination, that's when I started working on this. And I start my bonus daughter, I call her my bonus daughter because we got so close that STEP didn't work for us. The concept of STEP, it was almost like she felt bad when I called her a stepdaughter. And I didn't necessarily want to be a stepmom either. So her mother and I, by that point, just got together one day at a basketball game watching her play, and we just started throwing out names. Okay, well, if you don't want to be a step parent, how about the new whitening brightening formula? It's just like back and forth. And it came out bonus. And I went back home and looked at what bonus meant, and it was for a job well done. And it was like a prize when you reach quota in sales. So I went, oh, okay, that works. And we just started calling ourselves that. Bonus daughter, bonus mom, bonus dad. And if you call somebody blended, you can't be a blended mom. You can be a blended family, but you can't be a blended kid. But with bonus, you can do it all the way down. Bonus mom, bonus dad, bonus family, bonus dog. So that's the reason we did it. And I just started using it in my writing, and it just took off.
I love it because it also has the meaning that there's a gift into it, there's an element.
Thank you.
A gift.
Thank you. That's exactly right.
Yeah, appreciation, gratitude already comes with the concept of bonus.
The other thing was that any name we came up with was disrespectful to their mother and kind of, diminished my importance. So, all of the different names we came up with, other mother, stuff like that, it just didn't work. But this happened to work for our family, so we just started using it. And when I started using it in my writing on the internet, things just take off. And it's been 30 years now. And I started a nonprofit, and the nonprofit took off. And, it's just get the word out there. It's all lead with love. That's what it is.
So when kind of digging into the concept of now co-parenting and the experience that you've had, and what is it that there's a need for it, right? There's definitely some do's, there's definitely some don'ts. There's some element into a co-parenting, which is it's not necessarily an equal footing, right? So the biological parent has some experience with their own kid.
Oh.
Then the person who's coming into their life has another experience as they are. And I've noticed sometimes, where maybe even the biological parent could be even abusive or rough or, at times scolding, the way that a child they do get traumatized and they get pain, but there's a different level of a forgiveness that happens when the biological parent, might behave in a way that it might not be fully healthy. But because a bonus parent comes in, they are held to a higher standard somehow.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think that's true. biological parents are much more usually much more affectionate as well. So they balance out the discipline with the affection. Whereas a bonus parent or a step parent has to kind of grow into that. They have to get to know the person. So if they're starting to discipline too early, that's when you hear, "You're not my mother, you're not my parent," because they're asking a child to do something that their own parent necessarily wouldn't ask. So that's where it comes from. It's like, you don't eat in front of the TV. My own mother doesn't care. Why do I have to listen to you? So that's where the premise is. But I know what you're saying in regards to step parents do come from a different standard than biological parents. I think kids just don't feel they're as invested, and they probably aren't, because investment comes with time. So if you're married to somebody for 10 years, or you're with somebody for 10 years, your child, if you're working to be close to that child, is going to feel different about you than 10 months. So.
Yes. Now, how do you support the parents as they're coming together and, for example, a blended family, as they're coming into, let's get them prepared for what's coming? Because as a therapist, I get this a lot, where people are in a relationship and then they want to make this a little bit more serious, and they want to come in and form a relationship and, have their children meet a person who's in their life, and the kind of, and then have the marriage happen, and then they kind of live together. And sometimes the children are only living with, solo living with this parent, or sometimes they go back and forth between the other parent and this time. What are some of the suggestions that you have as this transition is happening?
I always think that people have to have a plan it's a plan of attack, you have to have a plan. And you can't just move in with somebody with kids and expect it all to fall into place. And on my website, on bonusfamilies.com, there's something called the before exercise. And I also include this in all my books. And really what it is it's a worksheet that you sit down with your new partner and say, okay, how are we going to cultivate our relationship? And you have to have a conversation and a plan step by step of what you're going to do. You talk about how you're going to problem solve between the two of you. What do you expect? How do you expect me to interact with your children? What are you looking for? Those types of things. And then you also have to say, how do you want to cultivate that relationship? And you also have to include their other biological parent too, because people who co-parent, if you think that can ignore their other parent, that especially if the children are going back and forth, if you start ignoring that kind of relationship, then you're asking the children to choose. They can't do that. You have to demonstrate that how to problem solve with everybody. And it's tough, especially if it's an ex. An ex. It's tough, but you've got to learn to do it for the child.
Absolutely. I think it gets, when it's done with all great intention and everybody's putting, their kids first instead of their own needs, it can work. It's tough, but it can really work out. One of the issues that I've really found is if the ex or the new person who is in the relationship has a little bit more of a hostility within the relationship. So either the ex has some hostility toward, their own husband or wife that left. They hated that the person is moving on into another relationship. So their upset, their anger, all that is not resolved for them keeps coming and using this arena for that. Or I've even seen the other way where people have divorced amicably. They've been co-parenting beautifully. And then one person, finds a new mate, and this new mate is having some issues, whether they've had issues before with their own, step parent or whatever it was. They're having, maybe they're jealous that the relationship with the exes are so well, but they just want their mate on their own. So they create some level of hostility. What are some of your suggestions when hostility gets involved?
Be more than jealousy between the ex and the new spouse, because I almost said wife, because it's not only with the wife, it's with the new person, is jealousy between the children. The biological parent is concerned that the children are going to like the new partner more than them because they have so much fun in this family, and it becomes like a 2 against 1 dynamic. That's the kind of thing I see. Okay, there is jealousy and stuff, but you also get overzealous new partners who want to get in there and save these people, and they've been co-parenting just fine. They don't really need somebody else that's kind of an outsider. And then the kids start looking at the new person as an interloper, and it's a lot of, that's where the planning comes in. Exactly. Sitting down, and sometimes you have to include the new, the ex-partner and say, okay, we're going to do this as a unit. And I know that people are listening to this and going, this woman's crazy, but you have to do it. If you want, otherwise you get the children in a situation where they're living in 2 different homes and they're going to have to pick sides. Do I like it better with mom? Do I like it better with dad? You don't want that for them. That they'll take that through their life and then they recreate it in their own lives when they get older. So we really have to change your attitude. And we don't break up like we're in high school anymore, because that's how people break up if you think about it. They stand over at the lockers and they throw hate stares at each other, and social media has become the new lockers, so they just write all this terrible stuff. Meanwhile, the kids read it, or the kids' friends, parents read it, and they find out, and it's just, it becomes an entire different dynamic. So you have to control it. And that means you've got to know what you want to put out there.
Yeah,
You have to talk and plan. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
It puts a lot of burden on the children. Very true. I remember,
They don't know. They don't.
I come from a divorced family. So I remember I was like 5 or 6 where my father had remarried. And as I went there, once in a while, I came back telling my mother, this is what happened. And that's what happened. And I remember my mom saying to me, and talked to my dad and my stepmom, my bonus mom,
There you go.
that let's stop this, because obviously this is only a 5-year-old and this is what 5-year-olds do. But let's all come together and have an agreement that we're not going to poke. And if Foojan goes back and forth and shares, we could listen, but not add to it, and just
That's to your mom's credit. Isn't that to your mom's credit?
Very much. Yes. And I remember from that day, I got the message that whatever happens in each one of the houses belongs to that house, and that I honor their privacy, and I wasn't going to go, give the information to the other. The other side of it is that I know that a lot of people, like poke, provoke, and are interested actually. And then they have comments around it, or like what you said, like they'll have to roll their eyes, or they have some negativity, which the child picks up about, the likes and not dislikes. And, if they feel hurt. So I think that the point of what I hear from you, and what I've experienced a lot also with my clients, is having the understanding that each person have the right to their emotion, but we don't have the right to dump our ideas and emotions onto our children, because they are part of it. They didn't choose this. They
don't care who's right or wrong. Kids don't care. They don't care if you've got a better legal system, and they don't. All they want to do is, if I have to go back and forth, and the courts are probably making them, you create an environment for these children so it's easy. But one thing that you said that I'd like to point out, just to clarify, you learn to not pass on information, but I think that that's natural, and like you said, kids will do it. And if parents say what goes on here stays here, that puts so much pressure on the children. You have to just understand there's very little privacy in co-parenting. Your kid lives in both homes. And so when you tell your mom about that, you're talking about your life. You're not necessarily talking about dad's life. So you're sharing your life with them. And we have to create an environment. And I understand that this is a different life than how we were raised and what we know. But the truth is, if children have to go back and forth, we have to do it differently. We just do. You can't, it's not a conventional family where, mom and dad, and we've got all sorts of different families now, and the definition of family is different. And we kind of have to roll with the punches and set the example for our children.
There's a distinct difference between allowing the child to share their world wherever, whether they're in somebody else's home and all of it, and just sit there and listen to it with in loving nature of whatever happens. And there's also another way where parents poke
or gossip.
or gossip or get information. I remember I had clients where two of the kids, whenever they went to the father's home, they came back and the mother needed a report of who was at the party, what did they do, everything. And that also brought a lot of burden into the child, which was like, okay, I can't come to your home because my mother doesn't like so-and-so being at your house, or even one guest. And so this became so much. So there's a balance to create, right? To create where a child doesn't feel like, oh my God, I have to hold secrets between the home.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't have to hold secrets, and it's such a burden on me. Or that the other way, that I have to report, and I have to come up
sides. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Both sides are not good ex etiquette. I write a column also for newspaper for Tribune content called Ex Etiquette, and it's just the etiquette of breaking up and starting over. And what you're talking about is just not good ex etiquette. You got to put the children first and figure out what's the right thing to do, and you know what it is. Parents know what the right thing to do is. They let their emotions and all this other garbage get in between. And the reality is, when you break up with somebody, it gives you the opportunity to no longer be in reaction. You can be who you want to be, and you can be kind for your children and demonstrate for your children how to resolve conflict without being angry. Yeah, and there's actually it's an opportunity. I always say breaking up is an opportunity. It's not necessary. I mean, it's painful. I've done it before myself, and we all have. But it is also an opportunity to teach our children how to resolve conflict, deal with people that you don't particularly care for. That can be used in your bosses and friends and all sorts of things. So this is all it's a learning planet. We're on a learning planet.
And how do you suggest then stop people bad mouthing each other, like the other parent?
Well, that's a really good question. Here's my Pollyanna attitude. I don't think every parent that bad mouths even knows they are. I think that people think bad mouthing is calling names, saying bad things. Like I have some clients who have bitch on their phone, caller ID for the other person, and you don't think your kid can read that? That's bad mouthing. But also bad mouthing is your mother is so lazy, or your father is late all the time and it drives me crazy. Now, do you think that that's bad mouthing? I'll tell you, the average parent doesn't. They'll say, I'm never bad mouth. That's bad mouthing because the kid hears it, personalizes it. The child thinks, if my mom thinks that's bad about my dad, what are they going to think about me? And it's all education. You have to let parents know what they're doing when they do that. And that's part of co-parenting classes and learning and reading the books that I write, or anybody writes, quite frankly. It's bad mouthing is probably one of the single most biggest mistakes that co-parents make, or parents in general, because if you're with the parent and you're saying things like that, you don't know what it does to the child.
It hurts the child. I think that it's, no matter what a child thinks of their own parents, they're my parent, and
I'm half them. They know who their DNA is.
Yes. I can say that with in-laws. Like, you tell your spouse and you badmouth your in-laws, that you're actually disrespecting them because they are.
Oh, good for you. It's on the other side, but that's definitely true. I'll tell you a little story real quick. I was standing in line at the grocery store, and I turned around and I looked at this woman, and she had a newborn in her arms, and she had a little 4-year-old next to her. And she looked exhausted, and very rarely do you look at a woman and say, wow, you look really tired. You probably shouldn't do that. But I just looked at her and I said, you look exhausted. And her response to me was, it's my ex. He drives me crazy and I wish he would just move on. And she said this in front of her 4-year-old. And her 4-year-old started crying in the line. you want my daddy to move on? And now she's trying to, I'm holding the baby because she's trying to calm her daughter down. But did you think that at that moment she thought it through and said, if I say this, it's going to hurt my baby? So that's what I'm saying is I don't think people know what they're doing. And I feel like it's my job to say, okay, you guys, let's take a look at this. I mean, I've been guilty of it myself. You don't realize it, and we have to stop because it's creating a whole different environment for our children.
Partially is people don't even realize that their kids are around listening to every word, everything. I've known so many of the parents who are on the phone with their friends, and the kid is playing or going in and out and in and out. And I've always said, like, most people don't live in East Wing, West Wing mansions where isn't East Wing and they're talking to someone on West Wing, they don't hear it. Usually, as you're hearing and walking around and doing everything, pretty much what happens is that your kids, even if they're in their own room, they're hearing you. Or they're in your vicinity, they're hearing you when you're talking.
Absolutely.
Your mate. And this could be, I know that we started a conversation about co-parenting when you're divorced, but this is all what everything we say also is with co-parenting with people who are married and, they are the biological parents at this time. So many of the conversation, this bad mouthing or, the secret keeping or allowing your child to talk or all of those are just about overall co-parenting.
Parenting, yeah, exactly. I have lots of parents who tell me they never badmouth, and I'll say, well, when you guys were together, how did you discuss things? And they said, oh, well, we'd go into the bathroom and we'd close the door and we'd discuss it. And I'd say, you don't think your kids were sitting outside listening at the door? And then the parents come out like there's nothing going on, nothing wrong. They got so much, and they were in a fight. They went away. They figured it out. They came out. Everything's okay. And their kids are going, what is wrong with mom and dad? You don't show them how to work through it at all. So I always tell people to stage an apology. Stage one. You know what? I shouldn't have said that to you. I should have said it like this. Make sure you say how you should have said it. And then the other co-parent should be gracious for their children's sake because they're listening and say, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. So now you've taught them how to make an apology, how to correct the apology, and how to accept the apology. So hopefully they will use it in their life. But to think you have to stage an apology, but it works. It works.
I mean, until the day that you could do this authentically. But I think that what you're saying is if you have to move away to, your kids are watching your body language together, your tone of voice, all of those. And, as they watch you go to a room upset or to a bathroom upset or whatever, they
in the garage fight, come back and go, oh, honey, let's get all of together.
So there is a conflict and they see the conflict, but as you say, they don't see the resolution of the conflict. So you're saying, why don't you bring the resolution of the conflict in front of your children? Because although you might not have brought the whole process of the resolution, but at least some part of the resolution so that they get to see it and they're not in this space of what happened? I saw the conflict and now nothing. So how does this work? And sometimes it becomes like this magical concept of, oh, my parents just handled it. And now they expect, the relationship to be handled without necessarily knowing how to handle it. So definitely.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
Thank you.
No.
You said it perfectly.
Jann, one of the biggest issues that I've seen with my clients when they get a divorce is that usually one parent is a little bit more disciplined and wants things in a particular way. And the other one had the opportunity while they were married. And if one person was a little bit more, the discipliner, the other one got to be like the party parent or the fun parent or all of it. And then, they separate and now the kids are going, 3 days here, 4 days there. And so now the rules of the two homes are completely different. They're not going to be in the same roles. They're not going to have the same structures. And then you could see like, when they're younger, is it different? But as they grow into teenagers, all of these rules become so different with each other. And then they get, and kids can manipulate, obviously, both parents going back and forth between the two. What are some of your suggestions to parents who They just don't agree within the same rules and policies, but they still have to come, and create something that the kids won't get confused, and two, don't use it against, manipulate one against the other.
Plan, you have to talk, and families aren't going to be exactly the same. And you can even tell your kids that. At least I always have said, I don't do things exactly like your dad, but we both love you. And if things get out of hand, we're going to talk about it and do the best we can to stay on the same page. I always told my kids, your dad and I talk. Don't think that we don't. So when they tell me something that their dad did, or I can stay up until 10 o'clock at my dad's house, I say, really? Okay. Let me talk to your dad about it. And they'll go, oh, no, you don't have to talk to him. You don't have to. But I always suggest that you create an environment where you can clear it up, where you can talk about it, but you don't accuse each other. And there's a whole different type of language that you have to use with a co-parent that you can use with that, you always, you never, all those things. Those will set a co-parent off faster than anything. So you have to learn how to talk to each other. And that's quite frankly, and I'm not really trying to say, come to my co-parenting classes, because lots of people teach co-parenting classes, but have to learn how to communicate differently with a co-parent. It's not an ex anymore. You take that, for me, what I try to do is tell people, take that off the table. That's not your ex-lover, that is your co-parent. You now talk to them like that. Your communication is on that level. And so that's when you create a different plan. And I think I got off on something a little bit different than what you were asking me, but it's mostly learning to speak to each other and using the kids as the criteria, not your ideas and my ideas. How can we get this together for our kids?
I've even used that when people are coming to me as a marital counseling, where one of them says, that's it, I'm going to get a divorce, I'm going to do this, I can't handle this anymore. And I say, if you have kids, you're going to be the other person's family member for the rest of your life. And at least until these kids are about 20, you're going to be full on, hands-on co-parent. So might as well, let's start that here, because regardless of whether you're in the house or divorced, this part has to continue. So might as well, let's learn the skills of how to do this.
I take it one step further, because people will say, I cannot wait until my child turns 18 so I don't have to deal with this person anymore. And I just start laughing at them. I go, do you think your child's going to have children? And they go, oh, yeah. And I said, well, meet grandpa. What do you think? It's not going to stop now. You guys have to learn to talk to each other and set an example, because you're just going to teach your kids to recreate this craziness. Is that what you want? And they will all know. Grandpa, oh shoot, then you start thinking about it. I remember saying that right in my office at Superior Court, and the parents were looking at me like, oh my gosh, Grandpa,
Now, after people get divorced and they kind of get used to this living apart and the kids coming and going, and they figure this all out. And then obviously one or two, both of them, begin a dating process. And now they don't know when they should, introduce the new date to the family and the kids. And then, if there are bigger family groups, if the date is coming, and how it all kind of shows itself. And what I've noticed is that and tell me what your experience is, when children are younger, it's much easier to handle this. And as children have grown, and that if you have to have your kids which are teenagers or even older,
that's the worst.
It gets worse as this thing the age goes.
Adult children, people always say, oh, okay, they figure that their adult children will be able to handle it because they're adults and they understand the whole dating process. Adult children have had longer time to build a relationship with the ex-person, so now their allegiance is really strong. And yes, you're absolutely right. I think younger children are more easily acceptable. They accept new things, whereas as they get older, it makes it much more difficult.
Well, what do you suggest? What are your suggestions as they're moving along to finding a new date? And how do you suggest this transitioning of a new date and a new relationship into their child's world?
Never compare. Never compare the two people, especially if the one person's deceased. Like if older children, because I have older people getting married again or getting together after the death of their spouse, and their grandchildren who are adults are freaking out because grandma is dating or grandpa is dating this other person. So first, it's don't compare. That's insulting the person that you were with before, and also insulting the person that you're with now. Is you have to allow that both of their appreciate their relationship in front of the children uniquely to that person. So in that way that the child isn't saying, oh, you're replacing mom or you're replacing dad or you're replacing grandma. So the not comparing, and that's true with bonus families too. Don't compare the bonus parent to the parent. Try to keep and teach your children to accept all the relationships separate and be accepting of their individuality and background. So that way, because kids don't want to be lumped together, so adults don't either. You have to look at it from that standpoint. That's first and foremost. Just don't let them compare, and make sure that when you're talking to them, you acknowledge the past person, because that's where their allegiance is.
Yes. Now, would you suggest that for them to first, what I've said is to go ahead and first get the children ready and even your ex ready that I'm dating. And so before you actually bring the person in order to meet everybody, to have people be prepared and have some of their reaction in a solo way, because people are going to have the right to their reaction. So might as well give them some time so they've gone through the reaction, ups and downs, if they needed to share something, if they wanted to talk about. What are your suggestions? What are some of the things that you have shared in the books or in your programs where you can support someone as they're coming in?
You have to, in a perfect world, I would like to have the introduction between the new partner, at least identify your ex that you're dating. First of all, I'm dating. I want you to know that I'm dating, so that if the children meet this person, which I hope you don't introduce the children until you know where the relationship's going. But if the children meet this person, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to their other parents and say, Mommy's got a boyfriend, Daddy's got a girlfriend, I met this person, she made great spaghetti, that kind of stuff. So if your ex or your co-parent knows, then they can say, yes, honey, your mom told me she seems to like him. I hope you got, you can say positive things instead of, and now the kid's afraid that they've just passed on this horrible information. So you kind of have to do exactly what you said. Prepare them so that they can support you and not throw you under the bus. And that also, you want your child to like the new partner. You can't have too many people love your kid, and you want them to feel comfortable, because if that partner is going to be living with your child, you want the transition to be seamless if you can possibly make it. So you have to lay the groundwork by going slow, talking to your new partner about what is expected, so that everybody knows what they're doing. You're not learning on the fly.
And although I know it's different with every child's age, but in a general level, what would you suggest of how to tell your child that you want them to meet this new person who's coming into your life, and
exactly like
the meeting happen?
Before it's like the general introduction, I hope your children know that you're seeing people, but you're not seeing them in front of them. I'm going to go to bowling with this person. And then you can come back and say, I went bowling and it was really fun. But then you're starting to prepare it. It's not like, I love this guy. It's just like, you lay it all out very slowly, so that when bowling and doing whatever you do, then you can just bring it into and say, I was thinking maybe you'd like to meet Bill, because we're all going to go bowling and see how, that kind of thing is just slowly, not do it immediately and not just drop a bomb, when I'm seeing somebody else and I'm, that's what I mean. It's just like, because then they'll compare it. What do you mean? You don't love daddy anymore? So, and then you have to go get into that whole thing. Yes, and people will continually to say, yes, I love your father. I'll always love your father. And then if you give them that answer, the child thinks, well, if you love daddy, why aren't you together? So you have to say something that's child-centered. Your dad and I love you together. We always will love you. I care about your father. And our main concern is you. That's the way you talk about it. So that way that they aren't comparing and saying, oh, well, obviously, you like this other person. So. That's it. Oops, where did you go? You left me. Where did you go?
I'm trying to show your book to everybody.
Thank you. I'm looking at you and all of a sudden, pew.
So everyone, go get this book, The Bonus Family Handbook, the definitive guide to co-parenting and creating stronger families by Dr. Jann Blackstone. I'm right here. See, I'm back.
There you are. That was wow. The book is kind of a culmination of every book I've ever written and everything I learned. It takes you from the beginning of why bonus is why we started to use bonus. Then it goes through dating, exactly like what we were talking about. Then it talks about moving in together, and if you choose to get married, and if you don't choose to get married, and how to make sure your children are safe, and what constitutes safety, all of that, all the way through to holidays and how to bring in extended family. And it's got a very extensive index.
Beautiful. It's much needed. It is true.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Anything we haven't shared that you really want people to know?
I would like them to know that I have a website that if they need information, they can go to bonusfamilies.com, plural. And there's about 200 articles that are free that they can read, and it's all about all of this. The holidays are coming up, and that's a particularly trying time. So, actually, you're ahead. So it might not be. This might be after the holidays, but all that information will be on the website, and you can get a hold of me there as well. My email is there, and you can send me emails and questions. Or I can work with you from co-parenting. It's all there.
Any last word of wisdom for everyone?
Put the children first. If you use them as the criteria for your decision making, you will not have the problems that you think you have.
And can you share what that means? Put the children first, because I think as a cliche, a lot of people have heard it, they know it, but that's that you mean it in a particular way.
When you're making a decision, you ask yourself, how is this going to benefit my children? When you're texting, people get in text wars all the time. I tell them, make sure that you make believe your child's standing over your shoulder and reading it at the same time. Nothing you say to each other, if it doesn't work for your kids, don't say it. That's what I'm talking about by putting your children first.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed our conversation too. And for all of you who are out there, if you like this conversation, please share this podcast or YouTube video with others and go get the book, The Bonus Family Handbook by Dr. Jann Blackstone. And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing Awareness Integration Therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.